Good morning to the next session of the two-day National Seminar and Research Scholars Meet 2022. The technical session of today is chaired by Dr. C.F. Vinod, Assistant Professor, Department of Zoology. The eminent speaker for the day is Dr. Vinod B.M., Assistant Librarian, University of Calicut. I welcome one and all to this session. I request Dr. C.F. Binoy to invite the speaker of the day, Dr. Vinod B.M., and carry over the session.
Good morning to one and all. In the second day of this seminar, this is the first technical session. And in this technical session, we are discussing a very relevant topic on plagiarism and its issues and solutions. So we have with us a very eminent resource person, Dr. Vinod B.M., who is the Assistant Librarian in the University of Calicut. He has a vast experience of 28 years managing the research desk in the C.H. Mohammed Goya University Library. He has several publications and he has published books on various topics relevant to the plagiarism issues as well as the information dissemination methods in library science. He has done his PhD in marketing of information dissemination, and he has specialized in the information marketing, open information sources, and plagiarism. Presently, he is doing the Plagiarism Check in the University of Calicut since 2015, using various softwares like Turnitin, Original, etc. And he is also a resource person in the UGC HRDC centers of Calicut as well as Kannur University. So with immense pleasure, on behalf of the organizing committee of the National Seminar of St. Thomas College, Thrissur, I welcome Dr. Vinod B.M. to present the topic, Plagiarism, Issues and Solutions. Thank you. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for your kind words. And thank you very much for inviting me to yet another webinar in your college. And without wasting your time, let me present the topic. The topic that I'm going to present today is plagiarism issues and solutions. And as Dr. Binoy rightly pointed out, I've been doing this work since 2015. And that was exactly the year in which the University of Calicut introduced the plagiarism policy. And as per the policy, every research scholar who wished to submit his or her thesis in Calicut University is supposed to do a plagiarism check. And if the similarity is within the limit, then only they can submit their thesis. So in the last 6 or 7 years, I got opportunity to check more than 900 theses plus, around 700 plus research papers. So I'm talking exclusively based on my experience. So with this opening remarks, let me start my presentation. Can you see my presentation on screen? Somebody, please. Hello? Hello? The presentation കാണുന്നുണ്ടോ സ്ക്രീനിൽ? കാണുന്നുണ്ടോ? ഫുൾ സ്ക്രീൻ ആയിട്ടോ?
ഇപ്പൊ ഫുൾ സ്ക്രീൻ ആയി സർ.
സ്ലൈഡ് മാറുന്നുണ്ടോ?
ചേഞ്ച് ആവുന്നുണ്ട്.
ആരെങ്കിലും ഒരാൾ ഒന്ന് ലൈവില് ഇരുന്നിട്ട് ഇങ്ങനെ എന്തെങ്കിലും ബുദ്ധിമുട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഒന്ന് പറയോണ്ടേ.
പറയും സർ.
Thank you. So let me start the presentation. As I told you, I've been doing this work since 2015, and initially we used the software Authenticate and Turnitin. And in the later stage, we started using this original. See, earlier it was
Sir, audible allalo.
and now it is video. അത് ചിലപ്പോൾ ഇവിടെ നെറ്റിന് ചെറിയ പ്രശ്നം ഉണ്ടാവാറുണ്ട്. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ
Sir, net issue ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ വീഡിയോ ഓഫ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് പ്രസന്റേഷൻ കണ്ടിന്യൂ ചെയ്താൽ മതി. അൺമ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് പ്രസന്റേഷൻ കണ്ടിന്യൂ ചെയ്യാമോ?
ഹലോ ഹലോ ഞാൻ പറയുന്നത് കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ? അവിടെ ആരെങ്കിലും ഒന്ന് റെസ്പോണ്ട് ചെയ്യോ?
കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ട്, ഇപ്പൊ കേട്ടു സർ.
ഓക്കെ, ഞാൻ എന്താ വീഡിയോ ഓഫ് ആക്കുന്നത് ചിലപ്പോൾ നെറ്റിന്റെ ചെറിയ ഇഷ്യൂസ് വരാറുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ എന്താ വെച്ചാൽ അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് നെറ്റ് വീഡിയോ ഓഫ് ആക്കുന്നത്. വീഡിയോ ഓഫ് ആക്കിയാൽ പ്രശ്നമില്ലല്ലോ, കേൾക്കുന്നില്ലേ? ഓക്കെ,
അൺമ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് സർ പ്രസന്റേഷൻ കണ്ടിന്യൂ ചെയ്താൽ മതി, വീഡിയോ വേണമെന്നില്ല.
ഇപ്പോൾ കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ടല്ലോ അല്ലേ?
ഓഡിബിൾ ആണ് സർ.
ഓക്കെ. ഇപ്പൊ എന്റെ സ്ക്രീൻ കാണുന്നുണ്ടോ? ഹലോ,
ലോഡ് ആവുന്നേ ഉള്ളൂ സർ. സ്ക്രീൻ ലോഡ് ആവുന്നേ ഉള്ളൂ.
ഓക്കെ,
വന്നു സർ, സ്ക്രീൻ വന്നു.
ഓക്കെ, ഇപ്പൊ പിന്നെ ഫുൾ സ്ക്രീൻ ആയോ? അപ്പോ
ഫുൾ സ്ക്രീൻ ആയിട്ടുണ്ട്.
ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ടല്ലോ അല്ലേ?
ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്.
ഓക്കെ, താങ്ക് യു വെരി മച്ച്.
ഓക്കെ സർ.
So I told you that initially we were using the software Authenticate and Turnitin for identifying the similarity in the works. And later, by 2017, we switched to Urkun software. Again, all these softwares are supplied by UGC InfluNet. And later in 2021, by the end of 2021, they modified the Urkun software. And now we are using the modified version of Urkun. Now that this is called the original software. And one thing I have noticed that almost 75 to 80% of the scholars, when they come for plagiarism check, have shown some symptoms of nervousness. And only 10 to 15% have faced the plagiarism check with full confidence, like this individual. So the purpose from my point of view, the purpose of the session is to prepare you to face the plagiarism check like this individual. So what is the major reason for nervousness? It is the lack of awareness about various aspects of plagiarism. That's a major reason. So what I'm trying to do today is to give you a theoretical orientation of the different aspects of plagiarism. And in the second session, I will give you a practical demonstration where I will show you how to interpret the report and how to solve the issues when the software identifies similarity in your work. So let me start with the presentation. So whenever we are approaching a new subject, when you're trying to learn a new subject, it is customary that we start with the etymological origin of the term. So likewise, the term plagiarism has come from the Latin word plagium, and the meaning is kidnapping. And the word meaning, you can see that here, an act of fraud involves stealing of someone's work and later lying about it. It's a very simple meaning. Now let's move to the definition of the term. So this is the definition given by Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary. Please go through this definition. So in a nutshell, we can say that if you want to accuse someone for committing the act of plagiarism, then you have to identify three things in their work. The first, they are lifting certain ideas or unique ideas or sentences from someone else's work. So that's the first thing, lifting ideas or sentences from others' work. The second point is they are using those lifted ideas or sentences in their own work as their own. That's the second thing. And the third thing is that they won't give proper acknowledgement or citation to the original author who created this idea or wrote this sentence. So if you can identify these three things in a work, then you can accuse that person for committing the act of plagiarism. So this is the simplest way you can put the plagiarism. I will repeat that once again. Lifting ideas or sentences from others' work, then using those lifted ideas or sentences in our own work as our own, and we are not, the third thing is that we are not giving acknowledgement to the persons who originally created those ideas or developed those ideas or created these ideas or wrote these sentences. And if you can identify these three things, then you can accuse that person for committing the act of plagiarism. Now let us discuss what are the major reasons why people commit plagiarism. And here you can see a lady is dumping waste in a public place. And if you ask that lady why you are doing so, then probably you will get a ready-made answer that, look, everyone else is doing, so I too have the right to do so. Likewise, if you ask a person who is committing plagiarism, he may say that everyone around me is doing the same thing, so I too have the right. So this is the one reason. And another reason is laziness or lack of interest. I think I don't have to explain anything about laziness because that is the one of the major character associated with almost all human beings. But we have to deliberate a little bit or discuss a little bit on this lack of interest. Now you know that if you want to survive in the academic environment, especially in the higher education sector, you need to have a research degree and you have to have research publication. You have to publish research publications constantly or at regular intervals. And if you are a teacher, you have to do the simultaneously you have to do the research. But the skill set one need for teaching is entirely different from the research. In research, a teacher is supposed to disseminate the already existing knowledge. Whereas in a research, a researcher is supposed to generate new information. So the one in teaching, the emphasis is on disseminating information, whereas in research, it is the generation of information. And if you are not really passionate about research, then also people go for plagiarism. Because these days, whether you are passionate or not, the administrators won't consider that you have to do research. Then only you can guarantee your survival in the higher education sector. So this is also contributing towards plagiarism. Another important thing is this improper planning. If you are a research scholar, you just ask somebody or someone already completed PhD how much research work you did during each of your research years. Probably they may say that 80 or 85 percentage of their work was done in the last 12 or 18. So they student, they want to submit their thesis by 24th. So can they come on Monday and do the plagiarism check and get the certificate? Look, there are no technical issues there. If the software shows that the similarity in the content is within the limit, they can get the certificate on the very same day itself. But they are taking a huge risk there. Suppose the software identifies similarity which is over or crossing the maximum limit prescribed by the university. Then they have to rewrite those chapters or those portions. It may take some time. That's why in the guidelines we specifically direct, direct the research scholars to have at least 15 days gap between submission for plagiarism check and final submission, so that you will get ample time for preparing your thesis, even if the software identifies similarity in your text. So while starting your research it is always better to have a proper plan. So in the first 8 months or 9 months, you devote exclusively for identifying literature relating to that area, and you start reviewing that literature along with. So by the end of the first year, around 80 to 85% of your introduction and review part will be ready. Next 3 or 4 months, you can devote exclusively for preparing the research design or devising the research methods. And in next 3 months, you can devote exclusively for developing the data collection tool. Next 6 months exclusively for collecting data, another 6 months for analyzing the data, and next 6 months for interpreting and writing the report. And the final 6 months for reviewing the report, means rewriting or modifying the report. And if you have such a plan and if you stick to such plan, then definitely you can overcome the issue of plagiarism. But if you accumulate everything and if you're doing everything in the last minute, then people may resort to the unethical practice. So planning is very important. Another thing is fear of failure. But just a minute, please. Hello. ഞാനൊരു ഞാൻ ഒരു പ്രസന്റേഷനിലാണ്, പിന്നെ വിളിക്കൂ കേട്ടോ. Hello. Fear of failure. That means if you're not confident about your abilities, suppose you think that if I submit this article or if I submit this thesis, there is every chance that it will be rejected, then also people may go for failure because they lack confidence. They don't believe in their own abilities. So this is also contributing towards plagiarism. Another thing is the unhealthy competition. Now you know that in the higher education field, everything, your presence or your stature is depends to a great deal, or your reputation to a great deal depends upon the number of publications you have. So if you have more publication, you have better chance to go up in the ladder. So there will be everyone in the rat race to improve their publication record, and that may lead to unhealthy competition. And so if your rival have more publication, that will put you under tremendous pressure, and in some cases people may resort to this unethical practice of plagiarism to overcome or to face the other your opponent. Another thing is the lack of printed sources. We all know that copying from an electronic source is much easier than the printed source. If you want to copy from a printed source, at least you have to go through the text, then you have to comprehend the idea, or then you will reproduce that idea. But whereas in the electronic format, you don't have to read, even you don't have to read. You just glance that, and if you think that this sentence is okay or this paragraph is okay, you just press Control C, Control V, and you can prepare your article. So it is often seen that if there are more electronic source in a library, or if a person have more access to electronic source, the chance of plagiarism will be comparatively higher when compared to a person who has only access to the printed source. So this is also contributing. This is a very important slide. It's a lack of awareness. Most of these researchers are committing the act of plagiarism because they don't have proper awareness about the concept. Here you can see a bear on the background, and the attention of the bear is somewhere here, and the photographer is filming something here. But the moment the bear turns its attention on the photographer, his life is in danger. This is exactly the situation of a scholar committing plagiarism. He may think that nobody is watching me, so I am free to do whatever I want. But if you commit plagiarism, it will be like a Damocles sword over your head. So people may start watching you once your publication is out in the public domain or your thesis is available in the public domain, like in an institutional repository site like Shodhganga. So lack of awareness is a major reason why scholars of our university are committing plagiarism. And another thing is the poor research skill. Poor research skill. We all know that we start research by identifying a topic. Once you identify a topic, the next step is collecting the literature relating to that. Then you review the literature, and based on the review, then you prepare your research methods, then your data collection tool, then you collect the data, then you analyze the data, interpret the data, and finally, you have to communicate your research findings in a formal language with the external world. And from our experience, we can say that our students are very good in identifying the research problem and collecting the literature relating to the area. That's not at all an issue. They can formulate a good research method. They can design good research methodology. They are good in analyzing and interpreting data. But when it comes to communicating the research finding with the external world, they are facing the issue. So the solution is that you have to improve your communication also. So if you lack skill in any of this area, then also people may go for the easy method, that is plagiarism. And another thing is the career advancement pressure. We already discussed that. If you are getting appointment as an assistant professor, and if you want to move up in the ladder, say for example senior scale, then selection scale, then associate professor, then professor, if you want to move up in the ladder like that, then you have to improve your research score. And these days, the major component contributing the research score are the research publications. So everybody is engaged in the rat race, and so that is also. And if you, of course, if you don't have that ability, then also people go for plagiarism. Another thing, maybe only few people are committing this act of plagiarism due to overconfidence. There are some individuals who thinks that they are very good in computers, and if they do some manipulation in the original text, then they can override the plagiarism check. So overconfidence is also contributing towards plagiarism. So far, we have discussed about the various reasons why people commit plagiarism. Now we are moving on to the different types of plagiarism. Different types of plagiarism. Can you hear me? Any issues? Hello?
No issue, sir. You can
Okay.
continue. You
Okay.
are
Thank
audible.
you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And now we are moving to the different types of plagiarism. There are different classifications. Different softwares are classifying the plagiarism differently. So in a nutshell, we can say that there is no uniform class or universal classification of plagiarism. So what I'm trying to do introduce to you is some of the major types of plagiarism recognized by almost all softwares. And the first one is called the clone type of plagiarism. This is also known as global type of plagiarism. So in this type of, here you can see one chick and the other thing look exactly the same thing. So in other words, we can say that clone, it's a carbon copy or duplicate copy of the original. So in this type of plagiarism, a scholar may identify a research paper or a thesis, and he will copy the entire content of the thesis or research paper. Then he will present that copied content as his thesis or research paper. So if he is copying a research thesis, then he will make changes only in the periphery. For example, the name of researcher, the name of the guide, the department, the year of submission, etc. And he won't make any change in the content. If you do so, then it will come under the category clone type of plagiarism. And I can give you an example here. You can see an example here. So this is the original text. This is the original text. And this is the text submitted by the scholar. And here you can see that everything is highlighted. That means the soft plagiarism checking software suggests that everything is copied from other source. So if you compare these two texts, then you will find 100% match. 100% match. That is why it is called clone type of plagiarism. Now let's move to the second type of plagiarism. It is called the control C type of plagiarism. So in this type of plagiarism, instead of copying the entire content, a scholar may copy significant portion of his thesis or research paper from another document. Then he will make some changes in the body of the content. Then he will submit that thesis or research paper as his own. So this is Control C, and here you can see an example for that. So this is a text submitted by a scholar. And you can see around 80 to 85% of the text is highlighted. That means the software is telling that there are similar information in other documents. But you can see there is no highlighting here. From here, it is not highlighted. And this word also. That shows that this is the original sentence from the scholar. And he had added just one word here. But here you can see around 80 to 85% of his work is copied from other source. That is why it is called Control C type of plagiarism. So the difference between Control C and Control C and clone is very evident. In clone, you are pressing Control A, Control C, and Control V. But here it is selective copying. That's the only difference. Now another type of plagiarism is called the find and replace type of plagiarism. So a scholar committing this type of plagiarism may identify the soft copy of an research article or thesis. Then he will identify the keywords in such works. For example, someone says that impact of COVID on hotel industry in Calicut district. You access that, you download that soft copy. Then in the soft copy, you press Ctrl H, you will get two windows. One for finding a word in the document and a second window for replacing that document. So in the find window, you're giving Calicut, and the replace window, you're using Trishur. And you're pressing OK. Then what will happen? Wherever Calicut is printed in the original document, it will be replaced by Trishur. So the document will be like the impact of COVID on hotel industry in Thrissur district. Earlier, it was in Calicut district. So this is how the find and replace type of plagiarism work. They will identify the key terms, and then that key terms will be substituted by using synonymous terms. And here you can see such a typical example. This is the original text, and this is the text submitted by the scholar. Most of this text is highlighted. That means there is similar information in other documents. But here you have a closer look here. It is written as non-indigenous. It is written as non-indigenous. Here it is. The scholar has changed that into non-native. And here you can see mid-19th century. It is written in figure. Sorry, it is in words here, but it is written in figure. Then here it is written the original. It is religious, but the scholar has changed that into sacred. Likewise, he has identified the key terms and he has replaced those key terms with the synonymous terms. That's why this type of plagiarism will come under the find and replace type of. It will be categorized as find and replace type of plagiarism. Now there is another type of plagiarism which is called the remix type of plagiarism. While writing a thesis or research paper, a scholar may collect material information from various sources. Then he will compile all this information in a logical sequence, and then he will present that as his research paper. The same way, here you can see the skirt of this lady. It is not made of a single cloth. Instead, they have collected pieces of cloth. Then it is stitched together, and maybe in a logical sequence or in a particular design. Then with that, they have made this skirt. Likewise, the scholar may collect information from various sources. Then he will compile all this information or rearrange this information to suit his purpose. Then he will submit that paper. And here you can see this is a report generated in the Turnitin. Here the text is highlighted in different colors. The different color indicates that this is from one source, this is from another source, this is from another source, and this is from another source, and this is from another source. So he has collected information from various sources, then he has rearranged those information in a manner that suits his purpose. So if you do so, it will come under the category remix type of plagiarism. Now this is another important type of plagiarism often committed by the scholars. Here you can see, I'll just zoom this. Have a close look at the publisher. It is Kanaga, and this is also Kanaga. And here it is September 33, the issue number September 33. Here the issue is July 91. Now see, this is their own publication, and see the changes they have made. Here the Tarzan is holding a dagger. Here Tarzan is holding a spear. Here the animal is crocodile. Here it is rhinoceros. This is Jane. They have made some changes in the cloth of Jane, and the pattern on the dress of Jane. And one person is here. He's missing here. In short, we can say that they have copied an idea from their own earlier publication. Likewise, we know that research is a continuous process. While doing research, you will publish research papers. And the second paper may be a continuation of the first paper. So you will find some common elements in the first paper and second paper. And generally, research scholars think that, see, they have generated one information which they have used in the first paper. Since they have generated this information, they have every right to use that information without citation. I underline that term, without citation, in second paper and third paper also. But that is a totally wrong notion. If you are using information from your earlier publication, then you have to give proper citation to. Means you are using information from your earlier publication in your subsequent publications, then you are supposed to give citation to your earlier publication. Otherwise, it will come under self-plagiarism. For example, if a person is writing this word or using this sentence, he has written this sentence all by himself. So this is perfectly okay. And he has used the same sentence in the second paper and third paper without giving citation. So that is plagiarism. This is called self-plagiarism. He has to give citation to his first paper. Otherwise, it will become self-plagiarism or recycled type of plagiarism. So whenever you are using information from your earlier publication, please give proper citation in the second paper. Otherwise, you'll be committing this self-plagiarism. There is another type of plagiarism which is called the hybrid type of plagiarism. So in this type of, here you can see that this an elephant, but instead of its conventional ears, they have fitted a butterfly wings. So the elephant represents, while writing a research paper or thesis, a scholar may give proper attribution or citation to some information. And for some other information, he will deliberately, he won't include citation, or give citation. He won't give citation to some information. So his paper, research paper, will be a combination of cited and non-cited information. If you are doing that deliberately, it will come under the category hybrid type of plagiarism, because it combines perfectly cited sources with passages without citation. That is called hybrid type of plagiarism. And here you
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Sorry for the interruption.
issue ഉണ്ടോ?
ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് വോയിസ് ബ്രേക്ക് ആവുന്നുണ്ട്.
അതെ, ഇപ്പൊ ഏത് പേർക്കാണ് വന്നിരുന്നത് അങ്ങനെ?
ഇല്ല, ഒരു 2 മിനിറ്റ് ആയിട്ടേ ഉള്ളൂ. സർ കണ്ടിന്യൂ ചെയ്തോളൂ. അല്ല, ഇതൊക്കെ ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് കേട്ടു. ഇതൊക്കെ ക്ലിയർ ആയിരുന്നു സർ.
ഹൈബ്രിഡ് കേട്ടോ?
അത് കേട്ടു സർ.
ഇവിടുന്ന് മുതൽക്കല്ലേ പ്രശ്നമുള്ളൂ?
ഇവിടുന്ന് മുതലാണ് സർ.
Okay, okay. So here you can see that the other researcher has given proper attribution here to the original source because he has used the inverted commas here. That means he has taken the idea as well as sentence words from other sources, other source. But whereas, so this is perfectly okay. But whereas the citation is missing for this area from here to here and from here to here. So this is okay and this is not okay. That is why it is called hybrid plagiarism, because he has given citation to some information, but he has deliberately left the other citation for other this information. He has not given any citation, and this is a deliberate effort from him. So this is called the hybrid type of plagiarism. And another type of plagiarism is called the error type of plagiarism. And before that, you please read this. And you please tell me anything wrong with this. Anything wrong with this quote? Hello? ഞാൻ കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ പറയുന്നത്? ഹലോ?
ഹലോ സർ,
കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ? ഞാൻ ഇപ്പൊ ബ്രേക്ക് ഒന്നും ഇല്ലല്ലോ?
ഇല്ല സർ, ബ്രേക്ക് ഇല്ല. ഇത് യൂട്യൂബ് ലൈവ് ആയിട്ട് പോവാണ് സർ. അപ്പോ ബാക്കിയുള്ള സ്റ്റുഡൻസിന് ഇന്ററാക്ട് ചെയ്യണമെങ്കിൽ പറ്റില്ല.
ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ. ഞാൻ വിചാരിച്ചു അങ്ങനെ ഇല്ലാത്ത പ്രശ്നം ഇതാണ്, ഇന്ററാക്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്ന. ഓക്കെ,
കമന്റ്സ് എല്ലാവർക്കും കേൾക്കാം, പക്ഷെ അവർ കമന്റ്സ് നമുക്ക് അയച്ചു തരുള്ളൂ, എന്നിട്ടേ റിപ്ലൈ വരുള്ളൂ സർ. അതാണ്. Okay, sir.
So immediately you can identify that this is a wrong quote because at the time of Abraham Lincoln there was no internet, but the attribution was given to Abraham Lincoln. So likewise, when you write a research paper, we used to give references. And the major purpose of giving references is that if someone wants to cross-check the information you have presented in your thesis or research paper, these bibliographical indicators, that means the name of the author, the name of the title, the publisher, the year of publication, the place of publication, the page number, etc. It will direct you to the original source, and you can read the original source and you can compare the original source with the information the scholar has presented. But if you are deliberately distorting the bibliographical information, or you are giving wrong attribution to some person, then the readers will not be able to go to the original or trace the original document and compare the original information with the information presented by the scholar. And if a scholar is doing that deliberately, this is called error type of plagiarism. That means they will give citation to non-existent information sources, or they will deliberately give inaccurate information about sources, so that the readers won't be able to locate the original document and compare the information presented in the original paper of the research scholar. And if you're doing so, it will come under the category error type of plagiarism. And here you can see an example for that. This is the original work and this is the text submitted by the scholar. And the title of the original work is A Natural Setting, but when the scholar gives citation, he changed that into Perceived Beauty, Man's Nature. So if you look under the title Perceived Beauty, Man's Nature, you will never find this document. So this is a deliberate effort, and that is why it has included under the category error type of plagiarism. Now there is another type of plagiarism which is called the aggregator type of plagiarism. So another purpose of giving citation that to make sure that the scholar has used authentic information in his work. So in order to get authenticity, he may give citation to some of the prominent authors or contributors in that area. For example, if you're writing a paper on marketing, and around 90% of the scholars may give citation to Philip Kotler. And if you are writing something on astrophysics, then you may give citation to authors like Stephen Hawking. But under this type of aggregator type of plagiarism, you may give in the reference, you may give acknowledgement to Philip Kotler or Stephen Hawkins. But your paper will contain nothing from their work. So only in the reference you will find these authors, but in text, there will be nothing from their work. If you do so, it is called the aggregator type of plagiarism. And here is the example for that. You can see this is the text, a natural setting, and the author has given the right citation here. Here also, he has quoted this as natural setting. But if you compare these two texts, then you can see that they are totally different. So only the title is the same, but the text are different. If you do so, it will come under the category aggregator type of plagiarism. Another thing is the style type of plagiarism. You can read this statement. Immediately after reading this, you may come to a conclusion that this is a tweet by Shashi Tharoor. Because of late, he has developed a unique style of writing. He uses most uncommon words for his tweet. So we know that this is a style developed by Shashi Tharoor. And if you are following this style to write your prose or your research paper or a thesis, then you have to give attribution to Shashi Tharoor, because people may think that actually this is a work of Shashi Tharoor. In Malayalam also, you can identify authors just by going through their text. Say, for example, Vaikam Muhammad Bashir, Kunyunni Master, then we can, for example. So without looking at the name of the author, you can say that this is a work from Vaikam Muhammad Bashir or then Kunyunni Master. So if you, in nutshell, we can say that if you are purposefully copying the style developed by a person, then also you are supposed to give proper citation to the person who originally created that style. Otherwise, it will come under the category style type of plagiarism. Another type of style plagiarism, another classification of plagiarism is into unintentional and intentional type of plagiarism. You can see this if you are a referee, then you can immediately you will identify that this is an unintentional foul because this person is trying to win the ball and he accidentally kicks the head of the other person. So it will be treated as it's not what we called deserves red card. Probably you may get a yellow card for this kind of punishment, because this is the intention is not hurting the other players. Likewise, while writing a research thesis or a research paper, sometimes scholars, maybe due to the lack of awareness or unintentionally, they will commit plagiarism. They won't give citation to the sources from where they have used the information. So that is called the unintentional type of plagiarism, and whereas just opposite is called the intentional plagiarism. Here you can see the person is kicking the other person, but the ball is somewhere here. So the purpose is very clear. It is to hurt the other player. So this is called intentional type of plagiarism. So a scholar may know what is plagiarism, what are the consequences, and everything about plagiarism. Still, he commits this act, then it can be treated as intentional type of plagiarism. And there is another type of plagiarism which is called the idea type of plagiarism. That means if you are using unique idea developed by some other persons in your work, then also you are supposed to give proper citation to the person who has generated that idea. Otherwise, it will come under the category idea type of plagiarism. But fortunately or unfortunately, the software that we are using right now, either Authenticate, Turnitin, or Original, or Orkund, they cannot distinguish between, or they cannot identify the style type of plagiarism, or this. They cannot distinguish between intentional or unintentional, or they cannot detect idea type of plagiarism. Because even if you are using an idea, if you properly paraphrase that, or if you express that idea by using your own word, the software will be helpless. Now we are moving to the purpose or the reason why the agencies are introducing the mandatory plagiarism check. I'm sure that most of you are using the institutional repository called Shodhganga. And taking Shodhganga as a base, we can divide or we can categorize or classify the Indian research scenario into two. One is pre-Shodhganga era and post-Shodhganga era. That means in pre-Shodhganga era, that means before 2004, if you want to access a particular thesis submitted in a university, you may find that thesis in only 3 or 4 places. One copy may be with the research scholar, another copy may be with research guide, another copy may be with where you have submitted. That means the department, and one copy may be in the university library. And if you are an outsider, then you will get access to this thesis only in the university library. And for that also, you have to travel all the way from your place to that university. Suppose somewhere in Rajasthan, there is no other way, but you have to travel to Rajasthan to access that thesis. But after 2004, now almost all universities have entered into a memorandum of understanding with the UGC in Flipnet. Thereby, it is mandatory for those universities to upload the awarded theses into Shodhganga repository. So nowadays, if you want to access a thesis, this is very easy. You just Google that term, that Google will take you to Shodhganga, and you can download as many theses as you wish. There are no restrictions whatsoever. Likewise, most of the authors love to or like to publish their research results in open access journals these days because they will get more readership there. They will get more citation. So the availability of quality research literature has increased considerably with the advent of internet and the modern technology. When the availability has become more, the copying or the unethical practices has also increased. Nowadays, if you want to submit a thesis and if you're ready for copying, you can submit your thesis within 3 or 4 months. What all you have to do is to download 10 or 15 theses. Then you have to cut and paste. Your thesis will be ready after 3 or 4 months. And in order to prevent that, these agencies are implementing the mandatory plagiarism check. Now let us discuss what are the benefits of this plagiarism check. These are self-explanatory. It promotes original thinking and creativity, and it elevates status. Because if you can produce a thesis with a minimum amount of similarity, definitely you can claim that this is my original work, and that definitely will elevate your status. And it helps, this plagiarism check may help to uphold the academic integrity and ethics and recognition for hard work. So people will recognize your work because this is all yours. Whereas in the earlier time, they may think that you might have copied from other sources. Now we are moving to the software that we are using these days to identify similarity in the work. I told you that we started using this Urkund software since 2017. And in 2021, they modified this Urkund software. Now it is known as Original. The software was developed in the Scandinavian country, Sweden. And one most important feature of this software that this is a cloud-based service. That means if you want to access this software, then you don't have to install anything on your computer. It is just like using an email. Once you get an account, you will be given a username and a password with which you can access this software from any computer, provided you have an internet connection. So this is a cloud-based service. Don't have to install anything on your computer. Now let us see what happens when we upload a document into this original software for identifying similarity in the work. The first the uploaded text will be compared with the text or information available on the internet. They will cross-check the information or verify that information in your text with the information available on internet sources. And if the software identifies any similarity, that will be noted. Then they will check another database which is called the publisher's material. These days, most of the publishers are making their database available to the softwares. So the software will cross-match your text with the text available in the publisher's database. Again, the similarity will be noted. And finally, there will be another database which is called the student material. Or in some other cases, they use the term student archives. Whenever we are uploading the document, that document will go and it will be saved in the student archive. So they will cross-match your text with the materials available in the student database or student archive. And if they find similarity, it will be noted. So the similarities from the document, similarities from documents available or information available on internet, publishers database, and student materials will be cross-checked, and that similarity will be noted on the text you have uploaded. I'll show you an original report that you will understand that. So they will cross-check this and identify the similarities, and you will be given that report as in a PDF report format, PDF format. And you can upload your text in any of this format. You can use HTML, Word, PDF, ODT, RTF. You can Excel, anything you can upload. Now I'll tell you the plagiarism checking procedure followed in Calicut University. A scholar can come directly into the university. Earlier, they can come directly. Now we encourage them to send their thesis issue. So if you are
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Sorry for the interruption. Sorry, we have a slight technical issue.
hello.
Sir.
എന്തോ പെട്ടെന്ന് കണക്ഷൻ പോയിരുന്നു അല്ലേ?
Okay. Ade, sir.
ഒന്നുകൂടെ എടുക്കാം.
Okay, sir.
ടെക്സ്റ്റ് കാണുന്നുണ്ടോ അപ്പോ?
ലോഡ് ആവുന്നേ ഉള്ളൂ സർ.
ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ. ഇപ്പോൾ ലോഡായോ? സ്ക്രീനിൽ കാണുന്നുണ്ടോ?
ഇല്ല സർ, ഇല്ല, ലോഡ് ആയിട്ടില്ല.
ഞാൻ ഒന്നുകൂടി ഒന്ന് ചെയ്ത് നോക്കാം. ഇപ്പൊ കാണുന്നുണ്ടോ? ഹലോ Hello?
ഹലോ സർ, ലോഡ് ആയിട്ടുണ്ട്.
കാണുന്നുണ്ടോ? ഉണ്ടോ?
വിസിബിൾ ആണ് സർ.
ഓക്കെ, ഫുൾ സ്ക്രീൻ ആയില്ലേ? നോക്കൂ.
ഒരു സെക്കൻഡ്. ഫുൾ സ്ക്രീൻ ആയി.
ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ, താങ്ക് യു. അപ്പോൾ എന്താ നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ പറഞ്ഞത്, ഹൗ യു ക്യാൻ വാട്ട് യു ഹാവ് ടു ഡു
അതെ.
to get your PhD thesis. അപ്പോൾ first you have to submit 5 files to the university. The first file has to be the introduction and review. The second file has to be the review, the research methods. First file, introduction and review. Second file, research methods. Then third file, analysis, result, interpretation, conclusion, etc. And fourth file, your title page. And fifth file, your identity card. The institution may provide you with an identity card, or you can send the order given by the university to join the research. So you have to send the 5 files. Okay. Then once we get the file, we will create a folder for you. Then we will upload the document. It is very much similar to uploading a document or attaching a document in email. Then the software will generate the report, which we will scrutinize and exclude the sources if required. This I will explain. And finally, the report will be handed over to the student. So this is the procedure we are following. And now this is the core of the presentation. If you want to get a real understanding of the concept of plagiarism or how the software works, you have to have a clear idea about these things. So this is the core of the presentation. The first thing that you have to understand, that the software identifies only similarity. Here you can see 2 sets of pictures. This is Mahatma Gandhi and this is Ben Kingsley. He played the role of Mahatma Gandhi in the movie Gandhi. And he was chosen for that particular role because of his physical resemblance with Mahatma Gandhi and of course his acting skills. Whereas here you can see this is Mona Lisa and this is also Mona Lisa. So we may say that these 2 pictures are similar. This is not same, these are similar, and these are same. This is exactly how a human brain may interpret these 2 sets of pictures. But if you ask the same question, or if you assign this task to the plagiarism checking software, they will use the term similar here. They will say that these 2 pictures are similar, and they will say that these 2 pictures are also similar. So the first thing you have to understand, that the software identifies only similarity. And there is a huge difference between similarity and plagiarism. I will illustrate that. So this is a report generated in the software Authenticate. This is very much similar to the Turnitin also. And here you can see a percentage here. This is 3%. If you show this 3% to a layman and ask for his response, he may say that this particular researcher might have copied 3% of his work from others. Now let us see the content of the report. Here you can see where the software has identified a similarity. The software has identified similarity in the terms mean, standard deviation, and p-value. And we all know that these are the standard statistical terms, and there are no other substitutes. We can say arithmetic mean, standard deviation, and p-value. That's only, these are standard names which you cannot change. So after seeing this, then now you may say that this is not plagiarism. This is only a similarity. So this is the difference between similarity and plagiarism. So we can say that all similarities may not come under the category plagiarism. All similarities may not come under the category plagiarism, but all plagiarism may come under the category similarities. The relation is inverse. So the point is that don't accuse someone for committing act of plagiarism just by seeing the percentage identified by the software. And you might have noticed, some of you might have noticed that they are using the term similarity index here. Why they are not using the term plagiarism index? The answer is very simple, because the software will never say that they have identified plagiarism. They will only say that they have identified similarity. I'll give you further proof for that. When you upload something to this original software, they will generate a mail. And this mail, and I have zoomed the content. Please read here. About 45% of the document consists of text similar to text found in 150 sources. That means the software has identified 45% similarity in the document we have uploaded. And what is the direction they are giving? Please note that the above figure do not automatically mean that there is plagiarism in the document. The original document need to be examined closely. So they're clearly giving you a direction that don't accuse this person for committing act of plagiarism just by seeing this 45%. You have to compare the information with the original document. Then only you take the final decision. So this is the first point you have to keep in your mind, that the software identifies only similarity, and it is the duty of the human beings to distinguish between similarity and plagiarism. And you have to remember this rule: all similarities are not plagiarism, but all plagiarisms are similarities. Now, another thing, fixed set of standards. Suppose there is a match between this person and this person. We all know that who is going to win. Definitely, this man is going to win, because his skill sets, his size, his power is much superior to this little boy. Likewise, when you do research, some research may depend on primary information. That means information appearing in the public domain for the first time. And some research may be based on the secondary information. It is already on the public domain, and there may be several modifications to that information available. So if your research is based on primary information, the chance of similarity will be comparatively less. So if this paper is based on primary information, there are only few journals here. It represents the quantity of information. The chance of finding similarity will be comparatively less. Whereas if this research is based on secondary information, there is huge quantity of information, and the chance of finding similarity will be comparatively high. So again, the point here is that don't accuse someone just by seeing the percentage. In some cases, his research may be based on secondary information. For example, if someone is doing research on the contributions of 5-year plans for the economic development of a country, that is based on this secondary information. The chance of similarity will be comparatively high. Whereas if someone is the impact of
Excuse me, sir.
not ear sensitive. Hello, any issue? Hello, കേൾക്കുന്നുണ്ടോ?
ഇടയ്ക്കൊന്ന് വോയിസ് ബ്രേക്ക് ആയിട്ടുണ്ട്.
മീനിങ് അത് ക്ലിയർ ആയിട്ടുണ്ടോ? അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത് ക്ലിയർ ആണോ?
ലാസ്റ്റ് സെന്റൻസ് ഒന്നും കൂടി പറഞ്ഞാൽ മതി സർ. ലാസ്റ്റ് പറഞ്ഞത്.
അല്ല, ഇപ്പൊ പറഞ്ഞതിന്റെ മീനിങ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, പിന്നെ നമ്മൾ സെക്കൻഡറി ഇൻഫർമേഷനെ ബേസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ റിസർച്ച് നടക്കുന്നതെങ്കിൽ അതിൽ പെർസെൻറ്റേജ് ഓഫ് സിമിലാരിറ്റി കമ്പാരിറ്റീവ്ലി കൂടുതലായിരിക്കും. നമ്മൾ പ്രൈമറി ഇൻഫർമേഷനെ ബേസ്ഡ് ആണ് നമ്മൾ റിസർച്ച് നടക്കുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ കമ്പാരിറ്റീവ്ലി കുറവായിരിക്കും. ബട്ട് അൺഫോർച്ചുനേറ്റ്ലി അവർ ഏജൻസീസ് ആർ യൂസിങ് ദ സെയിം യാർഡ് സ്റ്റിക്ക് ഫോർ ഇവാലുവേറ്റിംഗ് ബോത്ത് ദ തീസിസ്. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് അൺഫെയർ. അപ്പോൾ അഗെയിൻ നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നത്, ദ പോയിന്റ് ഈസ് ദാറ്റ് പ്ലീസ് ഡോണ്ട് അക്യൂസ് സം വൺ ജസ്റ്റ് ബൈ സീയിങ് ദ പെർസെൻറ്റേജ് ഓഫ് സിമിലാരിറ്റി. The difference in similarity may be due to the type of information they have used. Is that clear now? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we are moving to another point, another issue relating to the software, that the softwares are not ear sensitive. So here I used to quote my own example here. So my PhD thesis was submitted in the year 2006. And later, I got this access to the software way back in 2013. So the first thing I did was checking my own thesis. And I uploaded my thesis and I got the report. And there, the software has identified many similarities. And I went through the sources from where the similarities have identified. Then I noticed that some of the sources were published in 2008, 9, 10, etc. And you know that it is humanly not possible, impractical for someone who has submitted his thesis in 2006 to copy from documents published in 2008, 9, etc. It is humanly impossible. So it clearly shows that the software does not take into consideration the year of publication of the document. So whenever you are doing retrospective checking, that means you are checking a document submitted or published in the year 2010, in the year 2022. So it is published in the year 2010 and you are uploading that document into this plagiarism checking software in the year 2022. Then what will happen? The software will show a lot of similarities. But you have to make sure that everything published after 2010 has to be excluded. Then only you will get a clear picture. So this is another thing you have to keep in mind, especially doing retrospective checking. Now, another thing is that since most of the software, in fact, all the softwares are developed in European countries or America, then they support only international languages. If you want to check a thesis submitted in Malayalam, still you have to depend on human beings. So that is another drawback. Now, another question is how to treat a thesis, whether to treat a thesis as a single document or we have to whether to divide the thesis into 2 or 3 parts and then do the plagiarism check. For example, in Calicut University, I told you already, this is the first file, introduction and review. And research method is the second file. This is the first file, and these things forms the third part, third file. Likewise, you have to do. Whereas in some other universities, they are treating the entire thesis as a single file. So instead of dividing into introduction, review, research method, analysis, result, they are treating and from introduction to the conclusion, they are treating that as a single file. Now let us see the rationale behind this. I'll just give you an example here. Suppose there is a thesis and there are only 1,000 sentences in that thesis. And out of these, 80 sentences are perfectly plagiarized sentences. This is not similarity. This is perfect case of plagiarism. So if you're simply calculating the percentage of similarity there, then you can say the 80 into 100 divided by 1000 is equal to 8%. ഇത് ഇങ്ങനെയാണ് കാണുന്നത് എന്നുള്ളത് തെറ്റിദ്ധരിക്കരുത്. വേർഡിന്റെ കൗണ്ട് ആണ് ആക്ച്വലി they are using the word count, not the sentences. But just for the sake of example, I am using this example. So they will identify 8% of plagiarism in this particular document. Suppose if you are the evaluators and you come across a document with 8% of plagiarism in that particular document, probably you may think, okay, let us approve this because 92% is original. He has copied only 8%. So we may approve this thesis. Now let us move to the second scenario where the same thesis is divided into various parts. We are dividing the thesis into 3 parts: introduction and review, research method, and analysis and result. So again, the total sentence remains 1000. The plagiarized sentence remains 80, perfectly plagiarized sentence. And the introduction and review, there are 500 sentences and there are no plagiarized sentence. That means the percentage there is 0. And the research method, suppose there are 400 sentences and there are no plagiarized sentence here. So that's perfectly okay. This is also 0. And all the plagiarized sentences are from the analysis and result part. So there are only 100 sentences and out of that 80 are plagiarized sentence. So the percentage of plagiarism in the analysis and result will be 80%. That's 100 into 80 divided by 100. That is 80%. And if you come across a thesis with 80% of it, that its analysis and result section is plagiarized, then we won't approve, we won't recommend this thesis for the award of doctoral degree. So here we will say that we won't approve this thesis, but in this case, we are recommending this, the same thesis. Now you can see the difference or the logic behind dividing the thesis into various parts. Now, another question is, what is the ideal percentage of similarity that can be permitted in a thesis? And if you're asking the ideal, if you ask some students, if you ask the same question to the plagiarism checking software or different organizations or universities, you won't find any uniformity there. Some may say that it is 10%, some may say that it is 20%, some may say that it is 35%. But if you're asking the ideal percentage of similarity that can be permitted, then it has to be 0. You cannot improve on that. If you're able to produce a document with a 0% of similarity, that is well and good. Universally, there is no uniform percentage. It depends upon thesis. Now, another drawback of the software is that the software becomes effective only if the information is available on electronic format. If the information remains on printed format, then the software is helpless. Another thing is the difference in thesis format. This happens only if you have to divide the thesis into 3 parts. For example, chemistry. Normally in our university, they do 3 or 4 experiments. So in the first chapter, you will find an introduction, review, method, analysis, result, interpretation, conclusion, etc. So in all the 3 chapters or 4 chapters, you will have introduction, review, methods, etc. But here for plagiarism check, you have to sum up all the introduction from 4 chapters, sum up all the methodology part, then all the analysis and result part. You have to take from all the 4 chapters that will form your analysis and result. So the physical format you are submitting in the university for evaluation and the electronic format you are submitting for the plagiarism check will be different. So this is another issue. And another issue is the plagiarism versus publication. On the one hand, we all know that UGC is directing the research scholars to publish at least 2 research papers in peer-reviewed journal. Then only you will be permitted to submit your thesis. And generally, the scholars may publish research articles from their own publication. For example, if you are doing research in chemistry, you are doing 4 experiments. So after the first experiment, you will prepare or you will publish 1 paper. Second experiment, you will prepare and publish second paper. By the time you come for plagiarism check, already 3 or 4 papers will be from your own research. And then the software will identify the similarity there. So that is another issue. So people often ask what we can do. See, if you are not giving proper citation to your earlier publication, it will become self-citation. And as per the declaration you have to give for the PhD, it clearly states that it has not been, you are giving a declaration that it has not been published elsewhere for the award of degree of research or any recognition, etc. So you are violating that. So it's always better you publish research article, not from the core part of your research, but from the periphery. Another thing is this compatibility issue. See, this is a real life incident. And a lady came for plagiarism checking, and the software identified 23% similarity in her work. And the maximum limit as per the Calicut University guideline is 25%. So there are no technical issues if she could have submitted the thesis. But we told her that since you are in the brim, why don't you make some change in your text so that you can bring down the percentage. So next day she brought, after editing or making some modification, we uploaded that particular part again, and then when we got the result, the software says there is 27% of similarity. Now she cannot submit because the maximum limit is 25. So actually it was our fault. We advised her to do so. So we went through the report again and again, but finally we were able to figure it out why this happened. Because she prepared her document, everything was prepared in Microsoft Office. But in Calicut University, we are using everything, we are using this Open Office. So she brought her document in Microsoft Office and did editing in Open Office. So that was the compatibility issue. then we cleared everything. Then format was cleared. Then we again these changes were affected. Then we uploaded. Then the percentage came down to 11%. So I would like to say that if you are using Microsoft Office, do everything in Microsoft Office. If you are using the Open Office, do everything in Open Office. Don't try to mix these two things. Otherwise, these compatibility issues may come. Another thing is this fooling the system. See, it is impossible. You all know that it is impossible to take a picture like this. You need the support of the software called Photoshop or something like that. Likewise, there are plenty of methods with which you can override this plagiarism check. You download some paper from the internet, you do some manipulations here and there, then you upload that soft copy into this plagiarism checking software, then the software will say 0% of penalty. But please don't use such kind of unethical practices. If you do so, for the time being, you can submit, but it will be like a Damocles sword over your head for the rest of your life. Now, what are the methods you can use to prevent happening of plagiarism in your work? And most of you can recall this picture. It appeared in the Hindu newspaper some times ago. Actually, the parents are helping the students to write their board examination. And if the parents are showing this kind of integrity, you cannot expect the same from the children. Unfortunately, in our education system, we are permitting the students from KG, that means kindergarten, to PG, post-graduation. We are permitting our students to copy. We are not teaching them the ethical way of using information. The ethical way is simple. If you are using information from other sources, you have an obligation to give proper acknowledgement to the original author. So what we have to do, we have to teach our student the ethical way of using information. That is the perfect or the best solution for addressing this issue. And the second is that when you start your research, you should have a clear idea about the different types of material you are supposed to use. And what are the bibliographical information you have to collect for giving citations. So whenever you use an email or whenever if you're using information from a website, make sure that you are copying the URL and you are noting down the date on which you access this particular site. You note down all these things, then giving citation won't be a big problem. Likewise, each and every department follow a different citation style. Citation style means prepare the style you are using for preparing your references and in-text citation. So there are more than 6,000 citation manuals. These are called the citation manuals, MLA handbook, APA. So immediately after starting your research, you ask some seniors or your research guide about the citation manual followed by the department. Most probably it will be MLA or APA style or IEEE style. So you try to learn something from this citation manual. So how to cite a single author. Suppose there are two authors, how to cite. If there are more than three authors, what to do. What to do if a work is appearing under title. What to do with a work appearing under editorialship. How to cite a blog, how to cite an email, how to cite a website, etc. So this citation manual will help you to prepare the citations. So it is always better you go and have a look at in this type of citation manuals. Another issue is the issue relating to common knowledge. So you can see a picture here, sunrise, and this is a small chemical equation, and this is our national anthem. And what connects all these three things are, these are common knowledge. Everybody knows that the sun rises in the east, the H2O plus O2 is equal to 2H2O, and our national anthem. So you may use this type of common knowledge, such knowledge everyone is supposed to have. or the knowledge that is in the public domain for a very long time. But the software may identify similarity even in that areas. But actually there is no need for giving citation to such information because they are common knowledge. Now, when you are using the exact verbatim or the words along with the ideas, it is always better you put that information in inverted comma and give in-text citation like this. And if you are using an opinion expressed by someone, and also you are using the information, this idea along with words, then also you have to use inverted comma and give in-text citation. And if you're using a unique idea developed by someone in your work, then also you are supposed to give proper citation. Otherwise, it will come under the idea type of plagiarism. So when you should use in-text citation? Whenever you are using a direct quote, that means you are using the sentence along with idea. You have to give in-text citation. And when you are paraphrasing, that means you are using only the idea developed by others, but you are expressing that idea in your own words. Then also you are supposed to give in-text citation. And when you are using a unique idea from others, developed or generated by others, then also you are supposed to give in-text citation. But if you are using an information that is considered as common knowledge, then there is no need to give citation. And if you're using the artworks, images, graphs, statistics, etc., then also you are supposed to give proper citation. And another controversial thing is the quotation. Almost all of all the software that we are using for plagiarism check, there is provision to exclude the text given in quotation. So there is a tendency among the scholars to use the quotation marks excessively. And as a general rule, we can say that the more the quotation, it actually reduces the value of your thesis. Because the evaluators or the public are interested to know your views about the topic rather than someone else's views. But it doesn't prohibit you from using the quotation. Use it as a general rule, we can say that use the quotation mark only when it is totally necessary. If possible, you express those ideas by using your own words and reconstruct the sentences. So you use this quotation mark judiciously. Another controversial area here or mistaken area here is paraphrasing. Many scholars believe that paraphrasing is replacing the key terms in a text with synonymous terms. But the software will identify similarity in such areas also. And this is the right way of doing paraphrasing. Look, yes, this part is saying yes, and this part has paraphrased that as he agreed. This is the right way of doing paraphrasing. You retain the idea, but you change the sentence structure completely. And these are some guidelines for paraphrasing. When you're trying to paraphrase an idea, you read the text, understand the text first, then change the structure and words of the original text. Combine ideas if possible. Then you have to make sure that the text you have written shows or reveals the same thing. And please don't forget to give proper citation. And there is nothing wrong in seeking expert help. If you're not confident about some of your abilities, there is nothing wrong in seeking external help. But if their contribution is of intellectual in nature, then you have to give attribution to those contributors as well. This is actually a slide meant for the research guides. Please don't consider the plagiarism check as a mechanical process. The software is not the final solution. In other words, we can say the software cannot make the final call. The final call has to be made by the human beings. Software identifies only similarity, and it is the duty of the human beings to distinguish between similarity and plagiarism. If it's only similarity, then you have to exclude that while generating the final report. And it is always advisable to use authentic software like original identicate or Turnitin for identifying the similarities in your text. When you upload your document into any of the plagiarism checking software, definitely it will be saved in their archives. And you will never know that for what purpose they will use this text. So it's always better you use the original, authentic software. And as a research scholar, be prepared to refine your thesis or research paper till perfection. If you submit a research paper to a reputed publisher, normally they may ask you to refine or modify that your research paper a couple of times. Likewise, if you are a research scholar and if you want to submit your thesis, your guide may also ask you to direct you to refine it or rewrite it a couple of times. And I have seen in many cases the research scholars losing their patience. So prepare your mind in such a way that while writing or submitting or before submitting your research paper or thesis, the guide or the publisher may ask you to modify it a couple of times. So don't lose your patience. Be prepared for that. And people often ask, is there any method or are there any methods with which you can override this, or are there any shortcuts with which you can overcome the issues of plagiarism? And as I told you in the beginning, that most of our students or scholars are committing this act due to their inability to communicate their research findings by using formal language or technical language. So what you have to do? You have to prepare yourself, or you have to make certain conscious effort from the very beginning itself to improve your language. And for that, make sure that every day you read at least one quality research article, maybe 3 or 4 pages or 4 or 5 pages. Then you comprehend that. You try to write a summary of that research article in your own words by constructing your own sentence. Say, for example, 100 words or 200 words, a summary of the research article you have read. Make it a habit, do it every day, and then you will find a marked improvement in your language by the time you want to write your research article, thesis. So listen as much as possible in that language, speak as much as possible, read as much as possible, and write as much as possible. And there are no other methods to improve your language. And now let us discuss about the consequences of plagiarism. So if you caught with this act, there is every chance that you will be expelled from your institution. And whatever research degree or recognitions you have got on this basis, that will be cancelled. And if you are a student, you will get a grade. And if you have a history of committing plagiarism, there is every chance that your subsequent applications will be rejected, or they may reject your application if you have a history. And even imprisonment. Delhi University Vice Chancellor has to go to jail. He didn't commit plagiarism, but one of his students commit plagiarism, for which he has to go to jail. And when someone from your department or your institution commit plagiarism, it not only affects that individual, but in fact, it affects the reputation of the entire institution. some of the reputed publishers have taken a decision that if someone from a department commit plagiarism, they won't accept anything from that department for a period of 2 or 3 years. So it affects everything. So you have to be very careful. I think we can discuss this UGC Promotion Academy Integrity and Prevention of Plagiarism in Higher Education, the regulation and the interpretation of the report in the next session. Is it okay? Hello?
Yes, sir.
ബാക്കി നമുക്ക് സാധാരണ എത്ര മണിയാണ് സെഷൻ 12:15 വരെ എന്നൊക്കെ എന്നോട് പറഞ്ഞിരുന്നതുകൊണ്ട്
അതെ സർ.
ഇനി നമുക്ക് അപ്പോൾ അടുത്തത് എത്ര 1:30-ക്കാണോ എപ്പോൾ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്?
30 minutes 1:15 ആണ്. 1:15.
1:15-നാണോ?
അതെ സർ.
ഓക്കെ. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്താൽ പോരെ, സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്താൽ പോരെ?
സർ ഒരു കാര്യം കൂടി, ഡൗട്ട്സ് വല്ലതും ഈ സെഷന്റെ ഡൗട്ട്സ് ഇപ്പൊ ചോദിച്ച് ക്ലാരിഫൈ ചെയ്യാം.
ആയിക്കോട്ടെ, ഒരു പ്രശ്നമില്ല. ഞാനിപ്പോ ഈ പ്രസന്റേഷൻ ക്വിറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾ അവിടുന്ന് ഒന്ന് ചോദിച്ചാൽ മതി, ഞാൻ അതിന്റെ ആൻസർ പറയാം. ഞാൻ ഇതായിട്ട് വരാം, വീഡിയോ ഓൺ ആക്കിയിട്ട് വരാം.
ഓക്കെ സർ.
Okay. Hello.
So in the first session, in the morning, Dr. Vinod has discussed various issues related to the plagiarism. So I think now this is a mandatory process or procedure that all the research scholars should go through. So this is a very relevant topic. I think Dr. Vinod has discussed all the modalities related to the plagiarism in a very eloquent manner. I think there will be many doubts as well as clarifications required by the research scholars. So I invite the research scholars who has to who has to clear their doubts, to have their questions to the eminent resource person, so that they can clear the doubts related to the plagiarism issue. I think there are a few questions right now. So maybe the questions can be asked, and maybe also you can type your questions in the comment box also. So there is a question from Ms. Anupama K. So the question is, in case of mathematical graphs, if you are using same graph with some same data, but in different form and ranges, will it be plagiarism? So that is a question addressed by Ms. Anupama K. So can you have your answer, Dr. Vinod?
Definitely. If you are using the same format, there is nothing wrong, but the data has to be different. Suppose you are presenting a histogram or a pie chart, but the data has to be different. Is that clear?
Okay, I think the answer is clear. Is there any more questions from the research scholars? Yeah, there is one more question from Dr. Jensi. So how much text introduction section can be put within quotes? So that is a question addressed by Dr. Jensi Thomas.
Yeah, see, as per the guidelines of Calicut University, the maximum number of words you can use in a quotation is 20.
Okay. Yeah, there is another additional question from Dr. Jensi, that is in writing the project report, whether this is applicable or is there any other modality?
See, it depends upon the agency where you are supposed to submit that project. So far, the Calicut University has not come up with a policy for submitting project reports. So far, they have prepared a policy for PhD thesis only. So if you are submitting your project to some other agencies, they may come up with a plagiarism policy, and they will let you know this is the acceptable limit. And the same happens in the case of publisher. Suppose you are asking me, what is the percentage of similarity accepted by nature? I cannot answer that. It depends upon the policy of the editorial board. That is why I told that there is no uniform policy. I think is that clear?
Yeah, okay. There is another one more question from Mr. Vidyasagar TK. It is a very tricky question. How
Yeah.
can we differentiate between inspired ideas versus copied ideas? So very tricky question.
Yeah, see, I told you that. I told you that the software is helpless in that area, but human beings can distinguish between inspired idea and copied idea. That is why I keep on telling that software is not the final solution. The final call has to be made by the human beings. Is that okay?
Yeah. So is there any more questions from the participants? I think Dr. Vinod has answered most of the questions. So there is one more question.
Okay.
That is from Dr. Johns Naduvat. So
Yeah.
in some softwares, they're stored, I think, they're stored in archives.
Yeah.
Then check with their own archives. How?
Yeah. I got the question, sir. I got the question.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I can answer that. See,
Yeah.
I told you that whenever we are uploading something into any of these software, definitely that text will be saved in their archive. For example, if you are using this original software, and in the setting there's a provision that the software will ask you whether you want to check in the archive. Then if we untick that, the software won't go to the archive. And that's the first solution. And the second thing is that is why whenever we are uploading something into this original software, we insist that you have to write your name properly and you have to give us your exact title. So if you are uploading a research paper and we will write, say, an introduction into artificial intelligence by Dr. C.F. Binoy. So immediately you can identify that even if second time you are doing, then you can identify that this similarity has come from your earlier publication, earlier submission. So there is provision for excluding that. So excluding the similarity is very simple. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah. Okay. So I think it is clear for Dr. Johns.
Yeah, there is provision in the settings. You have to use that.
So in the next session, after half an hour, I think we will be continuing the same topic. So maybe I think it will be in a practical mode. So most of the
Yeah.
theoretical aspects of plagiarism has been discussed now. So in the next session, the more practical approaches in plagiarism will be discussed. So
Oh,
on behalf
I
of,
shall, do I have to use the second link or I can continue with the same link?
can you use the second link of the same link?
There is a
Different link. Yeah, there is a different link. So you can use a different link.
Okay. So I can quit now. Okay.
Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay. So meet you at 1:15.
So on behalf of plagiarism and also for clearing the doubts of the participants. So, and as I told, in another half an hour, we will be discussing the same topic in a more practical manner. So, I think the students, the participants can clear their doubts in that session also. So, for concluding this session, I thank Dr. Vinod, Assistant Librarian of University of Calicut, for sharing his ideas and sharing his knowledge for the sake of all the participants in this national seminar that is being conducted by the Research Council, Brahmas College Thrissur. I thank Dr. Vinod on behalf of the Research Council. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. C.F. Binoy. We request all the research scholars who have participated to join the session, second part, after 30 minutes. The link for the next session has been posted in the comment box. Please follow the link. Also, the Google form for the attendance has been posted. Please do fill the form to mark your attendance. Thank you.